Y'all want me to take it back? Y'all want me to do a classical game right now? Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, you know what? Your wish is my command. So I do have a game taken from 1935. And this is Raúl Capablanca versus Stuart Milner-Barry. Some of you guys who play the French defense, maybe you would know the Milner-Barry gambit. It is a very, very famous gambit from the white side of the French defense advanced variation. I got stung by it in the tournament one time, man, so it doesn't feel good, man, when you lose to that. But all of my people coming from the Philippines, I will say, Maraming salamat. I appreciate you guys very much for coming by. Anybody who is coming from Cuba, I will say bienvenido. Muchas gracias. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by, and anybody else from around the world, I appreciate you very much. But if you guys are ready to go, son, let's take a look, see what we got for this game, son. All right, man, so we got the move E4, best by test. We got E5. We do see knight going to F3. All very standard stuff as of 1935. We do see knight going to C6. And then we do see bishop to B5. And this is what is known as the Ruy Lopez or Spanish game. Named after a Spanish priest, Ruy Lopez de Segura, back in the 1400s. 1500s, my bad. Been a long time ago. But as of this point here, as of 1935, this opening has been known for about 450 years. Crazy, right? Because this game was from 90 years ago. So you're like, what? So it's like 600 years or something like that by this point. You know, like 550 years. Been a long time, bro. But they did start playing in more of kind of a modern way. We do see the move A6. And you kind of have a decision you make. Do you take bishop takes C6, go into the exchange? Or do you go into more of what is known as the Morphy classical type of variation? We do see bishop going to A4. Knight goes to F6, attacking this pawn right here. Asking us, do we care about this pawn or do we not? We do see castles by white. We got bishop to C5 with black. We got the move C3. We do see bishop going back to A7. And this is a very logical move. We are really wanting to kind of keep this bishop on this diagonal. Especially like if you see like rook E1. Maybe on a great day, you might see something like knight G4 kind of attacking this weak point here. So you always have to keep that in mind. We do see the move D4. We got knight taking E4, and then we do see rook to E1. And a very important thing that I was telling you guys a second ago with this bishop, we kind of do have the bishop blocked for the moment. So that was kind of why C3 and D4 were played, to kind of just blunt this bishop a little bit so that rook to E1 is a much safer move. So we got white. They're going to get their pawn back, bro. They're like, you know, I'm not down a pawn. I mean, you're tripping. I'm going to get my stuff back, son. So we do see the move F5. And I'll be mentioning this move coming up in a second. We do see knight B to D2, and this is the novelty of the game. It's very logical. I mean, it's like you have the option to say, man, I'm going to go bishop back to C2, and I'm going to go ahead and attack the knight that way, but why not try to do it with the knight? This bishop actually can be very effective on this diagonal, so you really don't kind of want to give it up in this kind of a position. So like I said, knight B to D2 became the novelty of the game. We do see castles by black. Black basically says, I'm going to go ahead and give the pawn back. I mean, you know, it's going to happen at some point anyway. Knight takes, we got pawn takes. But backing up here, instead of castles here, D5 was somewhat of an option. But it actually gave white a very great game after we would see knight taking E5. And this is a very common thing that you guys probably see a lot. And you're probably on the opposite side of it. And you're like, why am I getting pinned to death? You basically have the knight hitting this knight, and then the bishop is pinning it down to the king. So there is a lot of pressure here. But going back to, like I said, what we had in the game, we had knight takes and then pawn takes. And we have actually reached a position. There is a very solid absolutely best move that you can play right here. If you want to go ahead and pause the video and see what move Capablanca played here, go ahead and do so. Okay, so I think a majority of you guys, and I mean, there's no fault if you did think this, because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this is absolutely one of the best moves in the position. You know, kind of thinking about that your knight is attacked by this pawn right here. So, I mean, if you decided, you know, to kind of like, you know, go into bishop takes or rook takes, I mean, you still would be having a very great game. But there is a very super logical move in this position, and it is centered around trying to gain a tempo at the queen's expense. So if you came up with the move bishop to G5, you would be absolutely correct. I commend you because you have noticed that, yes, my knight is kind of hit, but this bishop is now attacking the queen. So when you throw in a check or when you attack the queen, generally it doesn't really matter what's going on with you, because I mean that person's gonna be like, man, I got to get my queen or my king out of dodge, homie. So you kind of have bought yourself a tempo. So after bishop g5, we do see queen going to e8, which is absolutely the best way to reply to that. And then it is when we take a rook takes e4. And something that I did want to kind of mention to you guys. Okay, so if you look at the board, everything is like dead even, right? I mean, both players have like the same amount of pieces, the same pawns. Everything kind of seems like it's literally the same, right? Well, it's giving white a 2+ advantage here, which basically means that theoretically to the computer, you're ahead positionally about 2 pawns worth. You can't see that because it doesn't physically exist, but it's something you know, the computer can see, like, you know, all these 30, 20 moves into the future. So I'm going to kind of explain to you exactly like why is it saying that white is so much better than black here? I mean, because everything is even, right? Well, one thing that I'm going to mention that I told you guys a second ago that I was going to come back to is this move f5 that was played earlier. This bishop can be a really, really big monster on this diagonal. So that is one thing that you want to consider, why it's kind of giving white a little bit. Also, if you kind of take a look at it, white is more developed and they kind of have a little bit more pieces kind of over here on this king side. This one can swing over here like this. The queen maybe can jump in. So you kind of have a lot more attacking possibilities if you are white. Also, another important factor is you see this bishop and this rook are basically not being used whatsoever. So before you can get this rook into play, you kind of have to make some pawn moves, get this bishop out, and then get the rook over like that. So the space game is being won by white. The development game is being won by white, and technically white is using 6 pieces when black is only using 4. So when you're making your calculations, especially when you're going into sacrifices, you want to be kind of like factoring those things in to kind of see like who has the initiative, who's a little bit better. So that way you don't have to depend on the computer to tell you that you're +5 and then, you know, you have no idea what that means. So the e5 pawn was a little bit shaky also, so d6 just goes to try to protect that. We see pawn taking e5, and then we actually, the computer did not suggest this move by Milner-Barry, but I think that queen g6 is a very human logical move to make because it kind of serves a couple of purposes. Number one, it hits this undefended rook that's on e4, and it's basically asking it what does it want to do. So that's definitely an important point. But also, another sneakier threat is if the rook can capture here, you might, like, let's say queen takes back, you would be completely hanging this bishop if you are white. So there's a couple different things you want to kind of be careful with in this particular position. So we actually see the best move in the position by Capablanca because, I mean, you know, he's kind of good. You know, he was a world champion at one point, you know, so, I mean, he got some skills. So we do see rook to f4, and that kind of basically solves all the problems that we just mentioned. We got rook taking f4, bishop taking f4, and then we do see bishop to d4. And it might kind of seem like, man, this is kind of a rough position to be in, man, because, I mean, this is a really, really terrible pin to have to try to get out of, right? Isn't it pin it and win it? Well, not when you have queen to b3 with check. This is getting the queen out of dodge, and then it's making it to where this knight can maybe move somewhere. It is definitely helping your situation. After we see queen going to f7, and this is blocking the check, we do see the very, very accurate knight going to g5. And not only have you gotten the queen out of dodge, you have now unpinned your knight, and you are hitting this queen. The problem in the position is this queen right here is pinned to this king, so it can only move in this diagonal. You can't go here, you can't go here, you really can't go here. So I mean, really the only kind of logical bailout is to go queen takes b3. But unfortunately, after bishop takes b3 with check, you really don't have a whole lot of great options. Now, you're probably looking like, man, how bad can it be? Like, I mean, everything is still kind of even, right? I mean, everything is everything. It's absolutely not everything at all. It is actually in this position that Milner-Barry resigns the game. So that was that game right there, bro. But I know I'm not going to leave you guys hanging, bro. So for all the people that want to understand exactly why am I losing in this position if I'm black, I get it that I'm not that great. But I mean, is this just completely lost? It absolutely 100 is completely lost. Now, let's take the absolute best move in the position. The computer is basically saying d5, just give away that pawn for no reason. And it kind of gives you a better position. But I think the more human logical move is like, let me just move the king somewhere. Let me either go king f8 or king h8. So let's go ahead and take a look at both of those moves. If you played the better of the two, which is king to f8, it would be still, unfortunately, a bad scenario because you would be looking at pawn takes d6, pawn takes d6. Rook would be coming to e1, and this is cutting you completely off. You actually can see that the king is actually stalemated at this moment. You might see something like g6 trying to give your king some breath. But the problem is, I mean, you got this pawn that's hit. You got this pawn that's hit. And it's, I mean, you're just going to be getting down a little bit too much material, man. So, I mean, that is not ideal. And this is actually best case scenario. If we look at the other one, after bishop to b3 with check, if we just say, hey, man, we can go king h8, right? Absolutely 100% not. You're going to be somewhat windmilled after you see knight going to f7 with check. And now the problem is you're checked. The king has to go here. And I mean, you're going to throw a move in just to be kind of funny. And it would be pawn takes d6 for absolutely no reason. Like, you don't even have to throw this pawn move in. But after the pawn takes on d6, you would be looking at knight to h6 and then king move and then knight taking g4. And you can see the board now. You might not have been able to see it 5 moves ago, but you can see it right now. So that is all she wrote. José Raúl Capablanca, you know, being great like he always was. I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. Muchas gracias, mis amigos. Anybody who is coming from the Philippines, I will say maraming salamat aking mga kaibigan po sa nanonood ng aking mga video. Anybody who is coming from England, I will say good day to you. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by, and I'm going to catch you guys next time.